That game could have been exciting, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Godwin turns around in time, and honestly, the Hail Mary may have actually happened. It may have actually worked, but obviously Godwin does not locate the ball. It does not happen. Let's not talk about that. Let's focus in on what matters for fantasy football, ladies and gentlemen. Starting with the Buffalo Bills. I understand, yes, Gabe Davis is a blow-up game, and maybe some people want to talk about Davis. At least in my mind, Gabe Davis doesn't really change here. We talked about this going into the game that for me to rank Gabe Davis from a week-to-week perspective, it's almost impossible, right? Because you are going to get 3 weeks in a row of Gabe Davis doing literally nothing, of him going out there and giving you 4 fantasy points and really not getting any volume at all in this Buffalo offense. And then you are going to have a week like today where Gabe Davis has 9 receptions, 87 receiving yards, and the receiving touchdown. Now, I guess you can say, well, maybe this is a little bit different. I mean, if you are looking at Gabe Davis and the usual volume that he sees, typically he's not getting up to 12 targets in a single game. I mean, maybe if Allen has 50 passing attempts, but it's not like Allen went nuts here today. So 12 targets is a little bit out of the ordinary for Gabe Davis. Maybe we'd have to rank him higher next week. This is a wide receiver that his previous high for targets this season was 8. In 2022, his previous high for targets in a game was 10. In 2021, his previous high for targets in a game was, I guess he had 14 targets with 3 receptions against the Jets back at the end of 2021. I have no idea how that happened. But nonetheless, yeah, Gabe Davis actually has volume, which is very interesting because usually you're just used to him being a big play option and maybe gets there with a long receiving touchdown, right? So, I mean, you're excited if you played Gabe Davis. Am I going to be dramatically changing where we have him in our rankings? Probably not. The guy that we need to be looking at, though, is the number 1 pickup that we had off the waiver wire this week. Dalton Kincaid coming out, starting the game off early with the receiving touchdown. You get 7 targets for 5 receptions, the 65 receiving yards, and the receiving touchdown. His underdog pick'em was only at 40 receiving yards this week, blows way the hell past it. And now we have to figure out, where do we rank Dalton Kincaid going forward? Because previous to this, what we were saying in the live stream right before the game is we had people asking, Mason, do I start Darren Waller or Dalton Kincaid this week? Mason, do I start Dallas Goedert or Dalton Kincaid this week? I was saying the veterans. I was saying that long-term, maybe we would prefer Kincaid. I'd rather see the production first. We had Kincaid ranked at tight end 9. I had him directly behind Evan Ingram, Darren Waller, Dallas Goedert, George Kittle, Sam Laporta. And now I want to ask y'all, obviously, we still knew we wanted Kincaid rest of season over guys like Waller as he would continue to expand his role. But exactly how high does he go? Because obviously, we'd rather have him over Waller. We'd rather have him over Evan Ingram. We'd probably all rather have him over Dallas Goedert. Let me know if I'm putting words in your mouth, but that's what I'm assuming. I think the primary question is, will you rather have George Kittle or Dalton Kincaid? Please let me know, ladies and gentlemen. I see Vinny says, depends how long Knox is gone. In my mind, obviously, if Knox comes in, then it will matter somewhat. But ultimately, if Dalton Kincaid is the round 1 rookie tight end, comes out here and breaks out, even if Dawson Knox comes back 5 weeks from now, does Dawson Knox have that big of a workload? So it looks like everybody and their mom in this live stream wants Dalton Kincaid easily over George Kittle. So now the question is, let's go to tight end 4. Who would y'all rather have rest of season? Would you rather have Sam Laporta or Dalton Kincaid? Sam Laporta or Kincaid? I think that this is going to be the drawing out point. I think this is where we really need to ask this question. And this is about where I actually know my answer. I don't want to say it until we see your answer, though. We have Laporta, Kincaid, Laporta. I'm sorry, Kincaid, Laporta, Kincaid. Laporta, either one. It looks like it's 60-40 in favor of Sam Laporta over Dalton Kincaid in the chat right now. I think I would easily rather have Sam Laporta over Dalton Kincaid. Like, I fully transparent, I'm going to be with you. I do not have a lot of either one of these tight ends. Typically, I'm avoiding younger tight ends. Typically, we're not taking a tight end in year one. We're not taking a tight end in year two. I'm the boring guy going out there and instead drafting Pat Frymuth, drafting David Njoku this year. And that shows how well I'm doing because, I mean, we have very little Kincaid and very little Laporta. But Laporta this season has had 2 games with 11 targets, you know. Maybe the offense is a little bit worse, but the offense is still pretty damn good. I just want to pull this up and figure out how much Dalton Kincaid do I have. Am I completely dead out here? Actually, I have 9% Dalton Kincaid. Oh my gosh. I am overweight Dalton Kincaid, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get that up there. So never mind. Your boy's a big Dalton Kincaid guy. Hell yeah. For whatever reason, I thought I was underweight Dalton Kincaid. Sam Laporta, I am underweight on. I'm underweight on Laporta. So never mind. I have more Kincaid than Laporta. We want Kincaid. Obviously, I'm joking, but no, I mean, I like seeing that we have some Kincaid. But you still would rather have Laporta over Kincaid. And then Kincaid probably slides in to be tight end 5, tight end 6, rest of season. You have James Cook getting the majority of this backfield. You have Latavius with only 7 rushing yards. You have James Cook going out there getting, only 1 target out of the backfield, which is definitely disappointing here. Now, nothing really changes with Josh Allen. Nothing really changes with Stephon Diggs. So, yeah, I think we move on. Let's pull up our other team. And as I do this, ladies and gentlemen, we just hit 200 likes on this live stream. Thank you so much for everybody going down there and dropping a like on the stream. If you have not done so already, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. Today is day 181 in a row of live streaming. Not missing a day until 2024. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, and the usual special pick'em that you're going to get, the Jalen Hurts new customer offer, more than less than half a total yard for this Sunday. But we also have an additional Flock exclusive special pick'em for y'all. Amon-Ra St. Brown, more than less than half a total yard as well. So please make sure you are taking advantage of that if you have not done so already. But let's pull up the Bucs here, where with the box score doesn't look as bad as it actually was, ladies and gentlemen. If you are looking at this, yes, some people got bailed out. We have JC hitting a $3,000 payout on the Mike Evans touchdown. Yeah, you got bailed out, my man, because, going through this entire game, you had the Godwin touchdown early. Godwin got there almost immediately. Evans saved his day at the very end. Really did not look good. What I'm a little bit concerned about, and I don't want to go out there and make this a super big deal. Obviously, it's a 1-game sample. I don't think we need to panic for the rest of the season by any means. But typically, why you like Godwin, why you like Evans in this offense, is they're going to go out there and they're going to get every single target, right? They're just going to be absolutely flooded. However, was that the case this week? That was not the case. Instead, you have Mike Evans with 5 out of 39 Baker Mayfield's pass attempts. You have Chris Godwin with 7 of them. You actually have K. Dotton seeing 6 targets. You have Trey Palmer seeing 6. You have Rachaad White seeing 6. You have Chase Edmonds seeing 3. You have Raheem Jarrett seeing 3. You have Payne Durham seeing 1. So this is the issue that you may have with the Bucs. If this continues to be a problem, we'll be concerned. Right now, we haven't necessarily seen it. Y'all know, going back to what we were looking at previously with the Raiders can be a horrendous offense. But if Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers take legitimately everything, even if that offensive pie is really small, if they are just taking massive pieces of that pie from a percentage standpoint, they're going to eat enough for them to be valuable in fantasy. Whereas this pie in Tampa is probably going to be pretty small. We've thought that all year. What you hope for is you hope that Godwin and Evans were going to take those large slices, so they were going to eat enough for fantasy. But if we have all these other vultures coming in, like Trey Palmer getting his 6 targets, K. Dotton getting his 6 targets, Rachaad White getting his 6 targets, it may be a little bit tougher. I don't want to overreact. Super weird game. Obviously, they were never in it. But it is something to monitor going forward. Rachaad White, I don't want to say bell cow back. He does see pretty much every carry. You have Chase Edmonds getting some stuff with him back in this game. But more importantly, he has the 6 receptions, 65 receiving yards. You're okay with White in a full BBR format, non-PBR league, because the offense isn't great. You don't love him with the limited touchdown upside. But I think that should be it. Let's go ahead and let's pull up these questions. Our first one is going to be coming out from Hogan, but we are going to skip ahead and answer Jovi's question just for 1 second here. This says, Jacobs, Ayuk, Hollywood for Pollard and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Give me Pollard over Jacobs relatively easily. Give me Amon-Ra over Ayuk and Hollywood as well, even if you have Kyler Murray coming back in. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense here. And we got Jeep Guy out in the chat saying, I still want Waller. I'm assuming you're pulling our leg here, my man. I'm assuming you're trolling us. If not, we got to sit down and have a talk. We got to have a talk. If not, my friend. Cannot be excited about that. We're not going to go down that road. I'm assuming you're just making a funny joke. But if y'all don't know, Jeep Guy likes Darren Waller. But let's swing this over, ladies and gentlemen. Our first question coming out from, I believe, Hogan says, trade Etienne for Puka. Nope, we're going to keep Etienne. Running back points are much harder to come by than receiver. And the Montgomery for Higgins, I'd probably rather a Montgomery there as well. Now, Saram, always happy to see us, says, Mason, 3-4, 12-team BBR shallow league. We have Hurts, Bijan, Hall, Hunt, Etienne, Freeman, A.J. Brown, Amari, JSN, Gabe, Dobbs, Jamison, McBride. Should I trade a combination of Etienne, Hunt, Freeman for Goddard, Waller, or Kincaid? So I actually don't mind us going through and selling Devon Etienne, specifically on a team where we are 3-4 and we need points in the short term, not the long term. However, if you are going to be selling Devon Etienne, you definitely need a much better price point than that. Like if we're selling Etienne, instead of going for Goddard, Waller, Kincaid, we're going to be looking at getting back in maybe TJ Hawkinson. If we get Hawkinson, if we get Andrews, then yes, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I still think that those tight ends are a clear tier ahead of someone like Dalton Kincaid. I don't mind the idea because we are 3-4. I just think we need to be charging a higher price, my friend. Now, Tilted Hippo says was offered Bijan and Ayuk for Travis Etienne. I would rather have Bijan and Ayuk over Etienne, my friend. Even though Etienne, actually my 3rd most drafted running back on Underdog this year. And I think Bijan Robinson is down there close to like my 12th-ish. Obviously, we're biased though. Hook 'em horns. Now, Saram says, same team as the first question. Instead of trading that combination, should I look to get another running back or receiver? So, I mean, if you're going to look at running back, we have guys that we're starting with Bijan, Hall, Hunt, that we're fine with right now, right? We have A.J. Brown, Amari. I mean, it would be okay if you wanted to go get a wide receiver too, if you'd feel more comfortable making that move. However, I don't necessarily think that we need to go out and panic at wide receiver. Like, even if Amari's maybe capped in the short term, considering the fact that you have the Deshaun Watson injury, in the long term, he should continue to get better. Now, Thomas says, need 3 for the flex, full PPR. Amari, Higgins, Madison, Najee, Pierce, Brian Robinson, Sanders, Javonte, Laporta, and Olave. Also, how safe do you think it is starting the Cowboys defense? I think it's safe. I believe the spread on the game's like 6 points this week. I mean, obviously not a great matchup for them, but I mean, they're a great defense coming out of a bye. I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to start Chris Olave. It's a full PPR, so T. Higgins. And then in a full PPR format, maybe Amari Cooper. Even though, full transparency, I really do not want to play Amari with no Watson. Y'all know general rule of thumb, though. I'm just simply I'm not starting a tight end in the flex. I think if you have Laporta, instead of starting him in the flex, let's go trade him and let's trade him in a package with Amari and let's go get an elite level receiver from a team that needs a tight end. Now, Will says, Amari, Ridley, Henderson, or Evan Ingram at the flex. I am probably going to go ahead and go Calvin Ridley in a full PPR format, Darrell Henderson in a non-PPR league. Dominic says, Baker Mayfield's another check down princess. He was, I don't want to make excuses for Baker. I mean, I was rooting for Baker in this game, which feels weird from a Texas Longhorn, of course, but still. I don't want to come out here and make excuses for the guy. Chris says, Rice, Nico, or Hunt in the flex. We are going to go ahead. We're going to take Nico Collins in a plus matchup coming out of a bye where, right now he's averaging like 14 points per game. Now, Kranos says, full BBR 3 and 4. Start 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex. We have JT, Henry, Pacheco, Wilson, London, Judy, Palmer, Downs, Dell, and Laporta. We're going to go JT Pacheco at running back. Receiver, we're going to be going with Wilson, Downs. And then for the flex, we will go Derrick Henry. I'm sorry. I'm the only thing that I can think about right now is the fact that we are overweight Dalton Kincaid in underdog drafts. And I feel so damn bad because I was actively saying that I did not like his price and I did not like drafting rookie tight ends. That's why I didn't even check what my exposure was because, maybe I'm misremembering, but I remember this offseason. Please let me know if you were hanging out with us this offseason. Do you remember us saying that we did not like Dalton Kincaid? I remember saying that. I do not know how I'm overweight Dalton Kincaid in drafts. Let me know if y'all remember me, because I remember me saying that. Okay. Vinny remembers me as well. Okay. So I'm not losing my mind here. I'm happy I went against my own advice then. All right. JG1 says, happy BR, Amon-Ra or Pollard rest of season. Thanks. Thank you, my friend. I think in a full BBR format, probably St. Brown, non-PBR league. Honestly, Amago Pollard, he's already through his bye. You're going to get the extra week. And at the same time, obviously running back points are much harder to come by than receiver. Colton says, non-PBR, 2 quarterback, 9-team league. We have Love, Stroud, Eckler, Mostert, Ayuk, Waddle, Goddard, Hall. And then on the bench, Watson, Olave, Ford, Etienne, Pittman, Howell, Henderson. Was offered Kyler for Eckler. 2 quarterback league. It's not the worst offer, and that we're not doing it though. So we need to get out of last place. So if you're in last place right now, the last thing that we are doing is selling for a quarterback that is still not going to be playing this week. I think we can revisit this trade after we get through once we actually have Kyler Murray back in and good to go. So what I would probably look to do is it sucks to say, but if you're in last place, we can't sit here and think about long-term upside with Deshaun Watson. I think you just need to sell Watson for what you can get now and go get someone that you feel comfortable about in your starting lineup. We need some points in the short term, not the long term. Salvador says, do you think starting London over Watson's crazy? If you would have asked me this last week with Watson having a great matchup against Denver, I would have said yes. This week, it's going to be a little bit tougher. It's still an okay matchup against Minnesota. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overreacting to the week that we had with Watson last week getting hurt. But now I'm kind of wanting to go out there and say, let's just wait. But Drew says, hey, Mason, super annoying tonight. Had Kincaid and Bass. My opponent had Evans. Was killing him for 57 minutes, and Evans gets bailed out. Evans gets bailed out with a touchdown. And just the game ended up, I guess, being close if Godwin could have turned around and maybe at least made a play for that Hail Mary, but it seemed like a meaningless play. But still, obviously, you're really happy about having Kincaid there. Now, Jared says traded Etienne Deontay for Devontae Adams. Is this a W? Yeah, I think it is a W, especially if we need points at the moment. Terrence says, Hall, Walker, Gibbs, Addison, DJ Moore. We got to bench one. I think we're going to go ahead. We're probably going to be benching DJ Moore, assuming that Kenneth Walker is healthy, with DJ Moore just being in the worst offense. JJ says, saw the sell Etienne take, and I agree. He's touchdown dependent, it seems. I don't want to come away with saying he's touchdown dependent. I have Travis Etienne ranked as my running back 5 rest of season. I just know a lot of us have Travis Etienne because, he's my 3rd most drafted running back this year. We're talking about drafting him all off season. We were saying to buy him low every single week at the beginning of the year when he was valued as an RB2. But I think I'm being very reasonable having him as the RB5 rest of season Whereas like Tony Pollard's averaging 16 carries per game, averaging about 5 receptions per game as well. And Pollard's already through his bye, so you're going to get the extra week from him. I don't think the offense is that much worse in Dallas. So, I mean, I'm not saying to sell Etienne because he's touchdown dependent. I'm saying that he's not going to continue to score 2 touchdowns every single week going forward. He's probably not going to be a top 3 running back. He's going to be closer to RB5. And if I could sell him for someone like Pollard, Pollard or Eckler, that's already been through his bye, that projects to have more passing involvement in a full PPR format, I think I probably would. I'm going to be very hesitant with how we put that. But it's hard for me to take Pollard or Eckler, who's up in age. You think it's a must-trade situation or it'll be fine, or Etienne for Diggs? I think if you don't want to sell him, you don't have to. You don't have to, my friend. If you wanted to sell him for Diggs, depending on your league, I think we would. Obviously, if we could get Etienne's points in right now, it's more about pivoting that running back that projects to see a similar type volume rest of season that's already through their bye at the same time. You don't need to, but those are some ideas. Diggs is fine. Okay. Let's move this over and let me pull this up real quick. Okay, so TS says you got to own up to it for Gabe Davis. The matchup was there, reflected by his volume. What are you talking about, my man? Are you trying to say that Gabe Davis was a must-start player this week? Gabe Davis did great. Gabe Davis had 12 targets, which is his second highest game in his NFL career, which started in 2019, 19, 20, 21, 22, now 2023. He's in year 5, had the second most targets in a single game of his entire NFL career. If you were acting like it was easy to see this with Gabe Davis, I don't know if you're an oracle. Literally, his underdog pick him was 39 receiving yards this week. I really hope you went out there and I really hope you bet your life savings on Gabe Davis to have 39 receiving yards if you think that he was that much of an easy call, my friend. But Frosted Blake's coming out says, 10 team, happy BR. League mates are trying to buy CMC for me. What would, my man, we're not selling CMC. Best offers I've had, Kamara Jefferson, Saquon Flowers, Ayuk. Honestly, I'm rejecting both. Happy BR format, not nearly as appealing in Kamara as I would be in a full PBR league. And at the same time, if you are looking at what we have with this being a 10-team format, we're a little bit more inclined to steer clear of depth and a little more inclined to go with these studs. So yeah, just hold on to CMC here, my friend. There's no reason to make that move. Now, Brian coming out saying, trying to upsell with that owner offered me Mixon, sent Kincaid DJ for Henry Bourne. Standard league, would you accept Diggs for Mixon Puka? We have Allen and Thida running back. If you're saying it's a standard non-PPR format, going through and selling Mixon and Puka for Diggs will be a little bit tougher, just given the fact that running back is going to matter more in that non-PPR league. It depends how thin you are at running back. Obviously, if we have Allen, it would be really nice to go out there and get that Stephon Diggs stack. Now, D. Larso says 12-team PBR 5-2. Dak, Bijan, Brees, Lamb, DJ Moore, Puka, and then on the bench, Kamara, Godwin, Charbonnet, Wilson, Dotson, Freiermuth, Kyler. Should we trade Puka, Dak, Godwin for Jefferson, Fields, Ridley? Puka to Jefferson upgrade, especially on a 5-2 team. Dak to Fields upgrade on a 5-2 team. Godwin to Ridley, slight downgrade. Who cares? Yeah, hell yeah. We're going to go out there. We're going to get Jefferson. I will say as well, if you do not have Freiermuth on your IR and instead he's actually taking up a bench spot, probably time to move on from Freiermuth. And I'm saying that as someone who drafted way too much Pat Freiermuth, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope he does great, my man. But thank you so much for always being out here with us. Tilted Hippo says, okay, so how BBR give Tyree get Adams and Eckler? If it is a double flex league, then probably yes. The only spot I'd be hesitant if it was like an 8-team league or a 10-team league where you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, then obviously the depth matters a lot more. Don says Carr or Darnold. We're going to go Carr. And then Rice or Lockett. We are going to go Rice, my friend. Kidlo says, bless Mike Evans for scoring more than 10 points. He barely got there. My man barely got there. 80 says, thanks for the Kincaid suggestion. Really needed a tight end. No, thank you so much for being a member of the flock, my friend. Not going to lie. It's not like I was a genius to go out here and say to pick up Kincaid off waivers. I would like to say, oh my gosh, nobody saw it coming. Oh, you're only going to get that expert level analysis on the Flock Fantasy Network. Kincaid, our top waiver wire pick of the week. I mean, obviously a lot of people had it, but super happy that you were able to fill that tight end spot, my friend. Okay. But that last question coming out from, I believe, 80 says, Thomas coming out says, thank you, Mason. Because of your advice, I got the 101 for James Cook in my Dynasty League. Absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd, my man. I mean, super flex, welcome Caleb Williamson here. 1 quarterback, welcome Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, Kevin says trade Ramondre for a Hollywood or Ramondre and Judy for Devonta Smith. And I'd rather try to squeeze a little bit more out of here. Like, if we were going to do one, we'd go for Smith. The thing is, like, is Hollywood fundamentally going to make a difference for you? Like, do we really need another wide receiver 3 that badly? Now, Colin says 10-team full BBR league. We have Watson, Stroud, CMC, Ramondre, Herbert, Adams, Amari, Myers, Godwin, Samuel Palmer, being offered Breece Hall and Devon Etienne for Adams and Ramondre. What do you think? I think I'd rather a Breece Hall and Devon Etienne in a vacuum. The only hesitation that I would have is if we're like 2-5, if we're 1-6, then we have no business trading for a running back that's not going to play right now in Devon Etienne. But ultimately, I think a lot of people make the argument to have Breece Hall over Devontae Adams this season. And at the same time, if we look at Etienne versus Ramondre Stevenson, obviously we would prefer having Etienne here. Now, Potsnob says 12-team PPR start 3. Chase, Kirk, Smith, Rice. We're going to go Chase, Kirk, and Devonta Smith. Obviously, Rice is getting better and better here, and I understand why you would want to go that way. Now, El Campa says, before the Bills game, I traded Tua and Kyron for Allen. What are your thoughts? I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, Allen, obviously, given the rushing upside plus that he has, you have to be super excited. Maybe you monitor the shoulder injury just a bit. But, I mean, Allen going into this week was the QB1 from points per game perspective, as crazy as it sounds. Clutchbox says, bench Gabe Davis, so of course he balls. What did Gabe Davis do over the past 2 weeks? Let's pull this up. Like, Gabe Davis is that guy that every single week it's going to be almost impossible to rank. I'm overweight Gabe Davis in underdog drafts just because he is going to have those massive spike weeks. But Gabe Davis last week had 1.6 fantasy points. The week prior, he had 5.1. The week before that, he went out there and he had 22. So obviously, extremely volatile with Gabe Davis here. Super high ceiling, super low floor, pretty much every single week. Okay. Now, Juan says, 4-3, got offered Kupp for Chase. What are your thoughts? I would rather have Chase already through his bye week, and hopefully Burrow is a little bit closer to being 100%. Cole says, 3-4, 12-team full BBR. Mahomes, Walker, Montgomery, Foreman, Spears, DeMercado, Jefferson, Olave, Watson, Addison, Jameson, Downs, Jonnu, and Njoku. Any trades we should look for? If we could somehow squeeze any value out of Foreman and send, like, say, Foreman and Addison and get a long-term wide receiver upgrade, or Foreman and Jonnu and get a long-term tight end upgrade, I think that'd make a lot of sense. Ultimately, very good team. I don't think we need to be panicking with this roster. We are 3-4. We are going to be getting Jefferson back. We are going to have JSN continue to get better as the season goes on. But we're strong enough where I don't think we need to make a short-term trade right now. Lucas, I am looking at super chats, my friend. This is exactly what this page is. We are just going in order. I see yours in about 5 questions. Figgy Small says, got Kincaid, trade away Waller and Gibbs for Bijan Robinson. Yes, I would do this. What's very interesting is if you go through and look at the pick'ems that you have on Underdog Fantasy this week. You have Gibbs at 96.5 total yards. You have Gibbs at 96.5 total yards in comparison to Bijan Robinson at, it's like 78.5, something nuts. Like just the flip in the script that we've had is kind of crazy. Long term, though, when Montgomery comes back in, I definitely prefer Bijan. Now, Alexander says, got offered Cup for Tua. Go get Cup. We have Tua, Hill, Allen, Taylor, Waddle, garbage tight end, and Walker. Any ideas? We need a quarterback badly. Assuming this is a one quarterback format, my man, you sell Tua, you go get Cup. I mean, hell, then at that point, we're selling Amari and our tight end and going and getting a viable tight end that we can play. We're going to go through and we're going to be picking up hopefully 2 quarterbacks off waivers and playing the matchups as we see fit. Okay. Now, Eduardo coming out saying trade Hunt, Watson, Ayuk, Kyler, get Jalen Downs, Debo, Henderson. Kyler to Jalen, big time upgrade. Ayuk to Debo, downgrade, especially on a 2-5 team. Hunt to Henderson, lateral move, call it. Watson to Downs, slightly lateral. I don't love trading for Debo. If we could keep Ayuk and have them keep Debo, I'd probably make the deal. My only hesitation in this is ultimately at the end of the day, you are in a spot where you're 2-5. I don't know if we want to be going ahead and trading 4 players that are not going to be playing in the short term, right? At least that's my thought. Lucas says, should I make any moves? We have Allen, Etienne, Walker, Tyreek, Godwin, Ingram, Pacheco. And then on the bench, Collins, Laporta, Judy, Downs, White. Trying to upgrade at the flex, but don't know who to target. So, I mean, you have great pieces here if you wanted to go through and make that trade. I mean, having Evan Ingram and Sam Laporta, I do think that it makes one of these players a viable sell. Like if you wanted to take one of the tight ends and say Isaiah Pacheco and go get a stud player there for the flex spot, like Laporta and Pacheco for Tony Pollard, I think that make a lot of sense on this team if we have Evan Ingram that we can go through and start regardless. But that's more so the structure of the deal. And maybe you'd want to wait until after this week, where of course you do have a pretty good spot for Pacheco to crush Denver, and then hopefully we can get a little more value. We can try to make it now, and if it gets rejected, then try again next week. Isaiah says, my brother 12 team, have BBR 6-1. We have Mahomes, Hill, Pickens, Godwin, Brees, Pierce, Goddard, Henderson. Palmer, JSN, Foreman, Spears, Dell, any moves? Love what you do. Keep it up. Thank you so much, my man. I mean, the only thing that I would do is very boring. If you could sell, say, Foreman and Pierce and go get a long-term upgrade for one of the flex spots, I think that'd make a lot of sense. Just with Foreman, must-start guy last week when you have no Roshan. I see a lot of people in the chat, I mean, in the comment section when I said to sell high on that one video, saying that he earned the job, that he's the starter, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter if you think he earned the job, if you think he didn't earn the job. Ultimately, what's probably going to happen at the end of the day, you're probably going to see this turn into a split backfield. So I don't care who's the technical RB1, who's the technical RB2. If it's a running back by committee in Chicago, I don't know if he's going to be viable. So I'd probably look to go through and see if we can just squeeze any value out of him. In reality, much easier said than done, though. Now, next switch coming out from burner account says, Evans garbage time touchdown, burn me, and Kincaid. I could imagine going up against Evans would be extremely frustrating. Extremely frustrating. Like, you're just so happy all game. So happy. Like, oh, my gosh, I'm going to start off this week hot. And then Mike Evans comes in last minute. Meaningless touchdown after a horrendous game. Now, Ty says, was one McLaughlin field goal away from a 5-leg hitting for $525 off an $8 bet that included Evans, Kincaid. Brutal, my friend. That's why what you should do is you should ignore all kickers and not even know who the hell each kicker is and never think about them in your entire life. That's the Mason Dodd model. Not going to lie. It's worked for me so far. But 10-team single flex, 0.2 point per carry. Do I trade Montgomery, Pacheco for Eckler? We have JT, Brian Robinson as well. I would say a point per carry format will be less appealing to go out there and get Eckler. I would rather have someone like Montgomery that could go through and not straight up, but that could rack up 20 carries in a single game, giving you an additional 4 or 5 points every single week. I think I would do this if it was just a typical regular PBR format. However, in a point per carry league, I think I actually want to be holding on to guys like Pacheco and Montgomery. Jake says, should we trade Lamb for Adams 1-for-1? Up to you. I think that they are in the same tier. Keep in mind, Lamb's already made it through his bye. Jordan says, drop 2, Spears, Henderson, Roshan, Kareem, and Javonte. Gross, but probably Roshan and either Henderson or Spears. I would really not like to drop 2. I'd love to make a 2-for-1 deal so we can hold on to these guys if we can. Ridley, London, Rice in my flex. We already go with Ridley. We're going to give him one more week over Rice here, my friend. And then Taysom or Kmet at tight end this week. Non-PBR format, we'll go Taysom for the touchdown upside. Full PBR league, we're going to go Kmet for the volume. The team is Hurts, Hall, Swift, Keenan, Waddle. We're 2-5, and we need some big swings. If you're 2-5, if you wanted to take maybe the long-term upside that you're going to get from someone like Rashee Rice, and then go out there and send him to get an upgrade in the starting lineup right now, I think that is something that we could look to do. But yeah, I mean, honestly, just a ton of wide receiver depth there. You like the team. Now, Leo says start Ridley, JSN, or Downs this week. I'm not starting JSN, tough matchup where you will have Metcalf good to go. It's either going to be Ridley or Downs. Can everybody spam the chat right now? Are you going to go Ridley or Josh Downs? Ridley or Josh Downs, ladies and gentlemen. Vader says, just traded Etienne for Bijan. Is this a win or a loss? I think everybody in the chat would rather have Travis Etienne. I have more Travis Etienne across all my fantasy teams. He was going round 4. Bijan was going round 1. I am the worst person you could ask. I am as biased as they come. Hook 'em horns. I would rather have Bijan Robinson. But full transparency, if I asked everybody in the chat, they would say Etienne. Downs, Ridley, Downs, Ridley, Downs, Ridley. Downs, Ridley, Ridley. Ridley, Downs, Ridley, Ridley, Ridley. So it does look like it's kind of split in the chat here. I think it is up to you, my friend. It is up to you. Okay. Luke says Waddle and Ramondre or Amon-Ra St. Brown. Which side wins? I'm going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't necessarily think that Ramondre is moving the needle too much. Zane says Puka for Hawkinson and McLaurin. It depends on your team builds. I mean, I'm personally a fan of just going out there and paying up for the elite level tight end, so I'm fine making the deal depending on your team. Jay Stoicy says 1-6, 18 PBR single flex. Allen, Eckler, Brees, Hill, Chase, JT, Goddard, Sanders, Dell, Downs, Judy, McLaurin, Kmet, Kyler, Kyron. Any moves and chance to make the playoffs? It depends how many teams make the playoffs in your league. If 4 teams make the playoffs, then I'd say you are a long shot, maybe hovering around 4 to 5% to make the playoffs. If 6 teams make the playoffs in your league, then since it's an 8-team league, you probably have a good shot, probably 25%. It's a big, big difference depending on how many teams make it. I would say, though, if you're 1-6, you can't really be sitting here thinking about long-term upside with Kyron Williams, with Kyler Murray. You got to go out there and you got to send Kyron Williams and Dallas Goedert and go get someone like TJ Hawkinson right now. Now, Alex says non-PPR injuries have me at 2 and 5. Etienne and Deontay for JT, Higgins, and Rashad White. Etienne has way more value than that, my friend. Jefferson and Kyron on the IR. Ideas, please. I want to save my eyes. I am sorry, my friend. You are going to be selling Kyron Williams. It sucks to say, but that is the move you need to make. If you are 2 and 5, you sell the IR players. You squeeze some value out of them. You get an upgrade in the starting lineup. The last thing we would be doing here is going out there and trading like Travis Etienne on this team. Now, Bones says Hurts, White, Henderson, Brown, Olave, Laporta, Higgins, Brian Robinson, Spears, Osborne, Bourne. Any ideas on what we could look to do? I would say this team's not strong enough at running back for us to be rostering this many wide receivers. I would say pick your favorite guy between Osborne and Bourne. Drop the other player, go to the waiver wire, see if we can find another high upside running back there that's maybe an injury away from making a difference. But yeah, I mean, we're much stronger at wide receiver than running back at the top. So I'd rather primarily focus in on running backs with a lot of upside down there at the bottom end of the bench. Zach says sell Pittman and Kincaid for Lamb and Njoku or a better receiver. Let me think. Can everybody spam the chat? Who would you rather have here? Would you rather have Pittman and Kincaid or Lamb and Njoku? Pittman and Kincaid or Lamb and Njoku? Honestly, I think it's a very close deal. I have a feeling most people are going to say Kincaid just because he looks so damn good tonight. And obviously, we are very close to this game. Pittman, Kincaid, Lamb, Pittman, Kincaid, Pittman, Lamb. Kincaid, 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 Kincaid. Lamb, Kincaid, Lamb, Lamb. Toss the ball, Kincaid. I don't know. I agree. I think that Kincaid is tight end 5 rest of season. I would see if we could swing for A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I think it's a fair deal. Joel says trade Lamb, Sutton, Javonte for Pittman, Addison, Pacheco. Lamb to Pittman, downgrade. Sutton to Addison, upgrade. Javonte to Pacheco, upgrade. Trade Kamara, Smith, Deontay, Watson for Amon-Ra St. Brown and Pollard. Kamara to Pollard, upgrade. Smith to Amon-Ra St. Brown, upgrade. We're paying Deontay and Watson to get it done. If it is a 2 wide receiver single flex league that has 12 or fewer teams, then I'm probably going to go out there and I'm actually going to make that second deal, and we're going to go for St. Brown Pollard, my friend. Benny says, start for the extra flex. We have Rice, Dell, JSN, Singletary. We also have Burrow and Chase. Should we try trading for Higgins? Yes, depending on the price point. Like if you could sell, JSN, if you could sell Rice and go get Higgins, I'd love to do so. I think we're probably going to start Rice here, given the touchdown upside, even though Tank Dell is in a very interesting spot with no Robert Woods. Now, I'm Gucci Upolo says, Sup Mason, 10-team BBR, desperately need a tight end. Pittman and Musgrave for Schultz. Hell no. No. Diggs, Watson, Deontay, Addison, Godwin, tight end or Komet. Yeah. The thing is, you go out there and make this trade for Schultz. Is Schultz that much better than Komet? Probably not, right? So this goes back to what we're talking about. We're not trading and paying up for tight end streaming options, for quarterback streaming options. If we're going to make that trade, we're going to be paying up for someone that actually moves the needle as a must-start guy regardless of matchup. Christopher says, started Gabe Davis a minute before the game, and he had Diggs. Should be an interesting Sunday. I am sure he is heated. You have him on the ropes. And congrats on having a good day here, my friend. Congrats on that. But let me go ahead and refresh this. Jacob is going to be our next question. Just give me 1 second to pull this up. And as I do, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not done so already, looks like less than 10% of y'all have hit that like button. Please go down there. Drop a like on this live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, I really like Jalen Hurts to have a rushing touchdown this week. You can find that link in the description in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers, plus the usual special pick'em you would get if you were new to Underdog Fantasy, the Jalen Hurts more than less than half a total yard. But on top of that, because so many of y'all have signed up to Underdog with code FLOCK, they're also hooking you up with an Amon-Ra St. Brown special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard for this Monday as well. So please make sure you are taking advantage of it if you have not done so already. But our next question coming out from, I believe, Jacob says, good call on sitting Evans, touchdown save the day for Nico. First fantasy season in 5-2, should be 7-2 after the next few weeks. The advice has been spot on. Well, congrats, my friend. And yeah, I mean, first fantasy season, 5-2, that is awesome, I will say. Don't get ahead of your skis here. Hard to say you're going to be 7-2 right away, but still awesome. Happy for you. Now, John says 6-1, 12-team PBR single flex. We have Hurts, Robinson, Chuba, Spears, Charbonnet, Elijah, Akers, Kyron, Chase, Olave, Watson, JSN, Jamison, Waller. Any trade ideas? Maybe go for an RB2. 6-1, we can hold on to Kyron for the long term. The thing is, if we were to make a trade for an RB2, who are we selling? It's not like we have a ton of wide receiver value down here on this bench. I would say we're probably going to be a little bit patient right now. We're going to struggle with running back right this second. But long term, we should be fine when we get Kyron Williams in. Also, we're going to be in a spot where maybe we have Watson, maybe we have JSN breaking out, then maybe we have a spike week from Olave, and then we have some additional wide receiver value that we're able to go out there and trade. But for now, I just don't necessarily see a trade that makes sense for us, like that we can realistically pull off. Rumboyface says Tankdale or Palmer. We're going to go Palmer if healthy. And John, I see that you had Zay Jones as well. If you have Zay Jones, just honestly, you can cut him. Now, Jared says 12-team at BBR 3-4. Herbert, St. Brown, Adams, Eckler, Kamara, Goddard, Watson, Madison, Edwards, Rice, Kincaid, Charbonnet. Any moves, or do we ride it out? Honestly, solid team. The only thing I'd say is I would look into seeing what kind of value we could get for Kamara. Like if we could sell, say, Kamara and, I don't know, maybe Kincaid and go get Bijan, go get Etienne, go get Pollard, we already have Eckler. If we could make that swing, I think that'd make a lot of sense considering the fact that this is a half PPR format rather than a full PPR league. And yeah, honestly, you're in a great spot. I mean, you're 3-4. We already have Herbert through his bye. And very impressive considering the fact that we had the injury to Austin Eckler and the suspension for Kamara. Now, Eric says 10-team PBR 6-1. Trade Swift Puka for Jefferson and Walker. Hell yes, we're going to do that on a 6-1 team. And we even have some players that we can play in the short term. Let's go ahead and let's make that trade. I love that, my friend. Vader says, never mind, league vetoed the trade and called me an idiot with the Travis and B. God. Like, swapping those players, I understand people having their personal preference, but like, how is that vetoable, you know? How? Terrence says, full BBR, Gibbs, Walker, Brees, need to sit one. I would have told you to bench Gibbs. But honestly, now, I think that the workload's safe enough where we probably have to go Gibbs. I think with the Walker injury, we probably pivot off Walker, especially with the tough matchup against Cleveland. We probably go Gibbs and Hall, especially in a full PPR format. It is tough, though. It is tough. Okay. Now, our next question coming out from Vert says, 10-team PBR, 2-5. We have Goff, Eckler, Pacheco, Lamb, Smith, Kittle, Flowers, Jacobs. The bench, we have T, Sam Al, Jerome Ford, Kincaid, Jefferson. Should we start T over anyone and then any trades to help out? So Verks, I think we're going to go through. We're going to be looking to sell Jefferson on a 2-5 team. I love Jefferson, obviously, in the long term, but the thing is, I mean, we are just going to be wanting to go ahead and we are going to be wanting to get some points in here ASAP rather than in the long term. So if you could say package together Jefferson and Flowers and pivot over to like Chase, I think that would make a lot of sense. I don't think we start T. Higgins over anybody in the matchup against San Fran. Or if you want to go Jefferson and Kittle and go get like Kelsey, I think that could make sense. And then see if you wanted to sell like Kincaid and Flowers for an elite receiver. I think those would be interesting moves. You have a lot of firepower. I just ultimately think we need to extract some value out of one of the tight ends in a trade and then possibly look to see what we could get for Jefferson on a 2-5 team. Now, 280 says Foreman, Jones, or Stevenson. Love you, bro. Love you, my man. I want to monitor what we have with Aaron Jones tomorrow. We're not going to go Foreman with Roshan being good to go. It's either going to be Jones or Stevenson. Fellow Slurper coming out saying 12 team, 3-3. We have Love, Bijan, Eckler, Hopkins, Lamb, Cup, Palmer, Andrews, Fields, Singletary. Traded Downs and Spears for Ridley. Is this a W? If Derrick Henry does not get dealt, I think it is a completely fine trade. If Derrick Henry is going to be shipped out, then you lose the deal and it's probably not that close either. But ultimately it does come down to, is Derrick Henry leaving Tennessee or not, you know? So I think a lot of people may honestly rather have Downs straight up at the moment. Tommy says, hey Mason, in our 2-quarterback league, are we liking Stroud or Cousins? Tough spot because you have a good matchup for Stroud going up against Carolina. Cousins, obviously, you have no Jefferson, but Cousins has been so damn good so far this season. You have an applied team total of 22 points in Minnesota, 23.5 points for the Texans. I think we go Cousins rest of season, Stroud this week. Also, looking to trade Rashee Rice high. Already have Chase, Smith, Addison, and Lockett. What running backs can we target? So the thing is, you're not going to be able to sell Rice straight up for a running back unless you wanted to look at the Ramadre, Rashad White, James Cook range. If you wanted to go there, you could. I think you'd probably be much better off, however, going through and seeing if we could package together Rice with the running back to go get an upgrade where possible. I think maybe that would be a little bit more interesting. But yeah, if you have those wide receivers, it makes sense. Now, Slayton says, not sure if you remember me from earlier today, but 6-1, and you mildly suggested me trading away Keenan for Jefferson. My league mate is interested, but it's not official. Do we make this trade? Obviously, this would be a deal that hurts you in the short term, but I just think that on a 6-1 team, we can afford to think a little more long term. Can everybody in the chat please spam? Who would you rather have if you are 6-1? Would you rather have Justin Jefferson, who at minimum will miss the next 2 weeks? Or would you rather have Keenan Allen? Justin Jefferson or Keenan Allen, please spam the live chat and let me know. Okay. Now we have Jefferson, Keenan, Jefferson, Jefferson, Jefferson. Jefferson, 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 Jefferson. Looks like everybody here is saying Justin Jefferson, my friend. If you look at my rest of season rankings on flockfantasy.com, you'll see I have Keenan ahead of him, but that's obviously not for a 6-1 team. 6-1. The issue is what happens if he ends up missing more than the next 2 weeks. But at the same time, if the Vikings are winning games, I think it's more likely he comes back. Now, Jason says 7-0, 10-team PBR. Running backs are weak. We have Brian Robinson, Foreman, Montgomery, Roshan. We have also Diggs, Allen, Smith, DJ Sutton, Davis, Hawkinson, Kincaid. League mate is Kamara, Etienne, Henry, Jacobs. Any ideas? Thanks. Thank you, my friend. First thing I'll do is send Kincaid for Henry Jacobs. Just see what he says. I mean, obviously, Kincaid is an expendable piece whenever we have TJ Hawkinson. I think selling high after this game wouldn't be the worst thing in this situation. And if you wanted to go out there and look to send maybe, say, Kincaid and a wide receiver like DJ Moore and go out there and get a running back up to the Etienne Kamara range in a full PPR format, I think you could go ahead and do that as well. You have a lot of flexibility. I just ultimately think that if you're in a spot where you have Hockenson and Kincaid, we should probably be looking to capitalize on the Kincaid value. Now, Douglas says, 12-team Happy BR, would you trade Amon-Ra and Ramondre for Brees, Bijan, and Smith? Amon-Ra to Bijan, lateral move up to you. Ramondre to Smith, lateral move up to you. Honestly, I think it's a fair deal, and it's up to you, my friend. Martin says, hey, Mason, 10-team PBR, single flex 5-2. The team is CJ, Madison, Gibbs, Hill, Nico, Ferguson, Wilson, Montgomery, Spears, T. Rice, JSN, McBride, Kyler, Kyron. Kelsey owner offered, but wants T. Montgomery, Gibbs. So it's a 10-team league, single flex. If we sell T. Montgomery, Gibbs, then at running back, we are sitting with Madison, Kyron Williams for the long term. Wide receiver, we are sitting with Hill, Nico, Garrett Wilson, JSN. Ten-team single flex, I typically always opt to go with the player like Kelsey. Here, this is a pretty decent price point, though. If you wanted to go out there, if you wanted to make this move, I'm not going to fault you for it. What I think you need to do is you need to go to the waiver wire, look at the two options that you would pick up, throw them on the Travis Kelce side of the deal, and then ask yourself, would I sell T. Montgomery, Gibbs for, say, Kelsey, Henderson, and Dermercado, right? And maybe it makes it a little bit easier for us to go through and make that trade. Now, burner account says 12-team Happy BR. We have Goff, Pollard, Jacobs, Etienne, Kirk, Davis, Downs, Palmer, Kincaid. And then the bench is Carr, Roschon, Williams, Schultz. Should we trade Etienne for a receiver? So obviously we don't necessarily need Etienne here, and we could use a wide receiver upgrade. It's going to depend on our record. If we're 6-1, I would rather honestly wait till Etienne comes back, because then at that point, I think you could just naturally get more value for him and we can afford to wait. Whereas if you're not in that spot, you're not 7-0, you're not 6-1, then ultimately, yeah, if you can sell Etienne and go get someone like Devontae Adams, probably want to do it. Yoshi says 12-team double flex. We have Love, Jacobs, Etienne, DJ Moore, Evans, Kelsey, Thielen, Collins. And then on the bench, we have Fields, Henderson, Dobbs, Jeff Wilson, Elijah Mitchell, Hill, Reynolds, Zay. Any moves? Should we trade Jacobs +1 for Breece Hall? So my issue is with this team, I obviously always like the idea of going out there and upgrading the starting lineup where we can. But where is the piece that we can sell? Would anybody give us anything for Zay Jones? No. Anything for Josh Reynolds? No. Anything for Justice Hill? No. Anything for Elijah Mitchell? No. Anything for Jeff Wilson? No. Anything for Romeo Dobbs? No. Anything for Darrell Henderson? No. The other guy that we have on the bench is Justin Fields. Probably need Justin Fields ourselves. Outside of Fields, half the other players on this bench, I mean, I could make an argument to cut. So I like the idea of going out there and upgrading at running back. If we could, obviously, I mean, let's do it. My fundamental issue is we just simply have no depth down on this team. It's a 12-team double flex league, so depth's going to be a little bit more important here. So I don't know, my friend. I honestly don't make the move right now. I think you need to prioritize making some waiver wire pickups over the next few weeks. Isaac says, traded Thielen Hopkins for Chase. So, phenomenal deal. Yeah. If you could sell Adam Thielen for the Jamar Chase price tag, we're doing it. Great deal. Josh says, Superflex, 12-team Happy BR, 4-3. Thoughts on the team and any moves? We have Hurts, Love, Pollard, Bijan Swift, Charbonnet, Puka, Olave, Flowers, Deontay Downs, JSN, Laporta. Thanks, man. Thank you, my friend. Obviously, if we could upgrade at quarterback too, we would. Like if you could send, say, Downs and Jordan Love to go get a better QB, someone we're more excited about in the long term, let's do it. In reality, we're in a spot where we have running backs at the top end that we like. We have wide receivers that we like at the top end and guys in the bench that are going to continue to expand their role. We have an elite level quarterback. We have a great tight end as well. I do think it's a very balanced roster. The only thing I'd say is if you could sell someone like Downs and go get that upgrade at QB2, probably does make sense. Now, Justin says, PBR for the flex, Waddle, Flowers, Metcalf, Watson, Henderson, or Aaron Jones. I think we're going to go ahead. We're going to play Jalen Waddle. If you look at implied team totals from Las Vegas sportsbooks right now, you have the Miami Dolphins supposedly being the best offense in the NFL this week. And on top of that, my friend, I mean, maybe Tyreek Hill's not at 100%. I don't know. I'm not going to go down that road. Y'all know we spent all night last night on the live stream trying to get people to not panic on Tyreek. Not going to bring up anything bad about that right now. But I actually have to refresh this so we can keep bringing these questions up. And as I do this, if you have not done so, hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. And if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog, you can find that link in the live chat, in the description, in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK is going to get you a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. The usual special pick'em for new people, the Jalen Hurts special pick'em, more than less than half a total yard for Sunday. But you're also going to get an additional special pick'em. We had so many people sign up to Underdog with promo code FLOCK that everybody, doesn't matter if it was last week, 2 weeks ago, 2 years ago, today, tomorrow, as long as you use code FLOCK, Monday night, you're going to get an Amon-Ra St. Brown special pick'em as well. So make sure you take advantage of that. Now, our next question coming out from Evil Skittles says, I got a steal, man. This is in another league. Gave away Kyron and Kittle for, oh my gosh, A.J. Brown. My team is Walker, Pacheco, Diggs, Keenan, Laporta, A.J. Brown at the flex. 6-1 in this league. What's so funny about this too is typically if you're 6-1, I would say, oh yeah, no, let's not sell Kyron Williams. Kyron's going to have more value to us than another team. We somehow found a team to give us this price point on Kyron Williams. Somehow found a way to go get A.J. Brown. Beautiful, my friend. Really, really happy for you. D. Larso says, start 2-2-1. Bijan, Brees, Kamara, Lamb, DJ, Puka. We're going to go Lamb, Puka at wide receiver. And then running backs in the flex, we're going to start all three guys. Start all three running backs and then Lamb, Puka at wide receiver. Now, Admire My Moon Assault says, start 2, standard league. DK, Olave, Flowers, much love. Much love, my friend. For sure going to be going with Chris Olave. DK Metcalf, Zay Flowers will be a little bit tougher. You do have a tough matchup for DK Metcalf going up against Cleveland. And with him not being 100%, I think we probably just do go Zay Flowers. Christopher says 12-team double flex. Sold Godwin, Warren for Devonta Smith, Pierce. Do we start Smith over Nico or Ayuk? Honestly, I think we're going to be holding these wide receivers, especially on a 2-5 team. Don't be making that deal. I like the first deal, but after this, we're going to be chilling. I think with Smith, you start him over Brandon Ayuk if Deebo Samuel plays and Brock Purdy does not. Under that circumstance, we do. Now, Martin says, have BBR 10-team league. Mahomes, Puka, Brown, Walker, Hall, Schultz, Thielen. Godwin, Foreman, Lockett, Cousins. Any thoughts and any traits? I would say, especially with the injuries to Anthony Richardson, to Deshaun Watson, to Justin Fields, where we can be pretty confident that there'll be a team in your league that needs some help at quarterback, that would make a lot of sense for us to go out there and see if we could sell, say, Kirk Cousins and Dalton Schultz and just go get an upgrade at tight ends, right? I mean, we have Justin Fields, we have Patrick Mahomes that we're starting every single week regardless of matchup. Justin Jefferson has been pretty damn good as well, so I do think we'll be able to get some value for him here. Christopher says 6-1 in pretty much a non-PBR league. What do you think about the team? Any moves or do we stay? Allen, CMC, Kamara, Stevenson, Pierce, Adams. Oh, phenomenal team. We even have Hawkinson down there at tight ends. The only thing that I'd say is if we can take one of these depth wide receivers, say take Brandon Ayuk. I mean, you have so much depth here at wide receiver. I mean, you're not going to miss Ayuk too much. And in what is essentially or effectively a non-PPR format, if it's not even a fifth point PPR, sell Ayuk and Kamara and go get a running back upgrade in the long term. I think that'd make a lot of sense. In this league in particular, I don't necessarily know if we are excited about going through and starting Kamara, who's been inefficient, not only inefficient, but at the same time does have that, I want to say cap, but is getting vultured in the red zone from some of these other players like Taysom Hill and Jamal Williams. Now, Mo coming out says, if Lockett's out, do we play JSN over Olave or Smith? Probably not because of the tough matchup against Cleveland. Xavier says, should we trade Dak and Kincaid for Burrow and Cousins? We have Mixon and Jefferson. Dak to Burrow, upgrade. Oh, so we're just going to get one. Honestly, no, I think Kincaid has more value than this, my friend. Jordan says, drop any of Lawrence, Goff, Madison, Rice for downs. Probably not. This does tell us how shallow the league is, though, and we need to make those 2-for-1 deals where we can. Chief Reaver says, have BBR flex spot, Henderson, Metcalf, Madison, or Hopkins. We are going to go ahead. We're going to play DK Metcalf. Jay says, Darrell Henderson for Komet. Starting tight end is McBride. Doesn't matter. Up to you. I mean, both those guys are just guys you picked up off the waiver wire. Alex says, PBR start 2. Olave, Ayuk, Thielen. We're going to go Thielen and Ayuk unless if you have... I hate to say it, but if you have no Brock Purdy, you're probably going to go through and start Olave instead. No Brock Purdy, I think you start Olave over Ayuk. Big Route says, hey Mason, I'm 4-3 in a standard league. We have Prescott, CMC, Mostert, Swift, Amon-Ra, Cup, Adams, Stevenson, Fields, and Mason. What changes do we need to make? We have 3 top-end wide receivers. We have Fields for the long term. I think we cut Jordan Mason at this point, pick up someone else off the waiver wire. We have CMC. My man, what am I supposed to say? We have CMC, Swift, Mostert, St. Brown, Cup, Adams. The only thing that I would say is you have an embarrassment of riches to the point where having Dak, like we shouldn't have Dak Prescott at quarterback. Like, let's go out there and let's send, say, Raheem Mostert and Dak and go get a top 3 to 4 quarterback. D. Larso, always happy to see us, says 12-team BBR 5-2. Single flex. Dak, Kyler, Bijan, Brees, Kamara, Charbonnet, Lamb, Puka, DJ Moore, Godwin, Dotson, Michael Wilson, Kincaid, McBride. Good enough to make a championship run or any possible trades to make. Full BBR, I'm fine with Kamara or 5-2. Obviously, we are thinking long-term. If you could sell Puka for Jefferson, I've seen a few people do that. I think that would make a lot of sense on a 5-2 roster, especially if we have like Godwin and DJ Moore that we can start for the time being with Lamb. Outside of that, really do like that we're going to get Kyler back in soon. I think Kyler will be an improvement over Dak for fantasy purposes. The one thing that's interesting to think through is like, okay, do we go ahead and let go of Trey McBride? Like, do we put say Dalton Kincaid in the caliber of tight end that you only need to roster one of these guys? That's like a very interesting thing to think about. Now, Bingwin says 2-5, 10-team BBR. Need a win, just benched Godwin and White. Starts at 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex. Jacobs, Hall, JT, Chase, T, Wilson, JSN, Olave, Watson. Okay, pressure's on, 2-5 here. Wide receiver, we're going to be going Chase. And then your call between Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. Underdog Pick'ems have Chris Olave as the guy between the two. Running back, we're going to go with Hall, Jacobs, Flex, JT. Just start all three running backs. Start Jamar Chase. It's going to be down between Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. Can everybody spam the chat? Who would you start between Olave and Garrett Wilson? Olave, Garrett Wilson. And as we wait for people in the chat to let us know, Tanner says 7-0, giving up DJ Moore and Etienne for Jefferson and Walker. Oh, great deal if you're 7-0. Great deal if you're 7-0. Okay. Olave, Wilson. Wilson, Olave, Wilson, Olave, 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 Olave. Yeah, it does look like most people are going to go Olave over Wilson. I'm probably with y'all. Okay. Two genders coming out saying 14-team full BBR. Do we win this deal? Traded Hunt, Smith, Zay Jones for CeeDee Lamb. I think so. I mean, obviously 14-team league. Depth's going to be much harder to come by, but still. We have A.J. Brown, Kupp, Judy, Taylor, Bijan, Aaron Jones, and Spears. Yeah, great team. I think we can do it. Like, we're not using Hunt on that team regardless, you know. Jim says Downs or Rice rest of season. Josh Downs was my second most drafted wide receiver in underdog drafts this year. I have a ton of them. But with that being said, I still probably go Rice because he's in a better offense. I do have a lot of Rice, though. And then start Ridley or Mixon. Thanks, bro. Appreciate you, my friend. Tough matchup for Mixon. We will go Mixon, though. We will go Mixon. Okay. Now, Greg says, HM. I don't know what that means, but thank you. 4-3, 12-team, PBR, double flex. Kirk, Walker, Swift, Smith, Kelsey, Downs, Taylor, Purdy, Montgomery, Wilson. Curtis Samuel, Christian Watson, Dalton Kincaid. Should we trade for Jefferson? Depends the price point. Who would we sell for Jefferson here? I would say no, because we are dealing with the David Montgomery injury as well. Maybe we could look to go out there and make a Jefferson trade once we get Montgomery back in. But for the time being, we're probably going to be sitting on our hands and at least waiting until that point. What I think that we would do right now is if we could go ahead and see if we can package together Dalton Kincaid and someone else in this starting lineup and sell high on Kincaid for a stud. I think that would make a lot of sense, specifically because we do have Travis Kelce here. If we have Kelce, we probably want to be making that play, especially in a double flex league. Now, Rombify says, start Carr, Gibbs, Foreman. Oh my gosh, this is gross. Carr, Gibbs, Foreman, McLaurin, Palmer, Kincaid, London. This is a bad team, my friend. On the bench, we have Dobbs, Dell, Henderson, Downs, Bourne, Kyler, Sanders. Any trades or starts? If we were going to change anything around, maybe we go Darrell Henderson over Drake London. Or we definitely go Josh Downs over London, minimum. Or Dell over London. I think we benched London for one of those players. And yeah, I'm sorry, my friend. I do not like this team at all. I think that this is one of those teams that you need to go through and you need to continue to work the waiver wire and try to pick up some of those guys. Like you just got Kincaid, right? If you just got Kincaid off waivers, you do feel much more comfortable. Now, Dawson's saying 10-team, happy BR league. Feel like my team's going to nosedive. We have Tua, Bijan, Pacheco, Olave, Palmer, Rice, Waller. And then on the bench, we have Burrow, Warren, Henderson, DeMarcado, Jonnu, Debo, Kyron. Who should we start at the flex, and should we go for some trades? So obviously, losing out on Kyron here is going to hurt. I mean, we're still strong at the top two running back slots. Just flex is going to be a little bit harder to come by. I think we're going to be flexing. Honestly, if you wanted to go Rice, DeMarcado, going to be up to you. I probably go DeMarcado just given the guaranteed workload, especially in a half PPR league. And then if we're going to be looking at any other moves we could potentially make, I think one, we drop Jonnu Smith. If we have Waller, we're starting Waller over Jonnu Smith every single week, regardless what's the real upside with Jonnu. I'd rather roster a running back that's an injury away from making a real difference. And then I think what we can do is maybe a trade that doesn't make a lot of sense for right now, but a trade that would make sense for the long term is if we get a decent price point for Joe Burrow, say Burrow has a great game against the 49ers, then at that point, if we could go through and maybe package together, say Burrow and Rice and go get a stud option for the flex, we look to do that. It's just difficult to do so right now with the value that Burrow currently has. I mean, he doesn't have a lot with him coming out of the bye. Then we wait, hopefully get a blow-up game from Burrow, and then at that point, we can make that trade and go get that significant upgrade in the flex. Now, Lopez, always happy to see us, says, hey, Mason, I'm 6-1. Any moves or suggestions? It's a 10-team full BBR league where we have Stroud, Etienne, Walker, Adams, Addison, Kelsey, Pacheco. And then on the bench, we have Olave, Ridley, Flowers, Sutton, Hunt, Connor. Oh my gosh, we have so much depth. I mean, I definitely think that we can go do something. I mean, if you have this kind of depth, you are just in a position where you have the embarrassment of riches where it doesn't make sense for us to not have a great quarterback. So what I would personally look to do is if I could go through and sell, say, Flowers and Stroud and go get an upgraded quarterback, or honestly, I think what's maybe a little more reasonable is go ahead and sell, say, Sam Laporta and CJ Stroud for that upgrade at QB. I think that's probably going to be something that we look to do, especially if we're in a spot where we have Travis Kelce, right? We have Kelce. Vader says, would you trade JT Barkley for CMC or Eckler? Not Eckler, but I have way more JT and Barkley, to be completely honest with you. But if I could package them up and send them for CMC, if it's a shallow format where we have the depth, I'm fine with it. Faraz says, 10-team PBR, 5-2. We have Goff, Thielen, Waddle, Myers, Olave, Sutton, Logan Thomas, Brees, Brian Robinson, Henderson. And then on the IR, Jefferson and Kyron Williams. Okay. So we are thinking long-term. So honestly, I know this is very boring advice, but you're 5-2. We have Jefferson and Kyron on the IR. We're focused in on long-term upside on a 5-2 roster, which honestly, for us to increase our long-term upside, all we have to do is be patient and sit on our hands. Obviously, in the short term, this isn't a great team, but in the long term, when we get Jefferson and Kyron back in, we should be much happier. So I think we're just going to relax. Now, I am as in bad says trade Brees for Stevenson Pittman. We have Lawrence, Etienne, Saquon, Lamb, Deontay, Musgrave, Hall, Ridley, Gabe. Honestly, no, I'm not going to do this. Saying zero trade volume. Yeah, this is something that I've noticed with people, and it sucks if you're in one of those leagues where absolutely nobody looks to trade. And if you're in a league where nobody trades, then sometimes if you're going to make a move, you kind of feel like you have to go out there and you have to make a trade where you just like clearly lose, but you maybe don't mind one way or another. I would rather just be a little bit more patient. I mean, keep the best player, keep Brees Hall here. He is seeing every single snap out of his backfield. Now, Michael will be our next question, but we do have to refresh this. And as I do, we just hit 600 likes on this live stream. Thank you so much for everybody going down there and hitting that like button. Does look like only about 8% of y'all, though, have hit that like button. So if you have not done so already, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? And we can actually probably swing this over to the other page, no? Let me see if we are caught up enough where we can. No, not yet. We're close. We're close. Okay. Yeah, we just have one more question from Michael who says, have PBR, 12-team league. Herbert, Eckler, Taylor, Puka, Diggs, Andrews, White. And then on the bench, Godwin, Judy, Spears, Kyron, Ferguson. Any trades? Love you, man. Love you, my man. Here, if we're looking down there on the bench, I mean, we do have some wide receiver depth. Honestly, I really like the team. Ferguson's a tough spot. You can't trade Ferguson. You're not going to get any value for him. He's good enough where you don't want to cut him. I don't want to roster 2 tight ends if we have Andrews. So it does put us in a little bit of an awkward situation. We're probably just chilling on our hands. If we were like 2-5, then at that point, we look to go ahead and sell Kyron Williams in a package with White and just go get an upgrade in the flex spot right now. In reality, that actually may be the case. We may have a very bad record with this team, even if this team's good, just simply because we had to deal with the Austin Eckler and Jonathan Taylor injuries earlier in the year. But let's swing this over to the other page. Wes says 10-team BBR, Herbert, Bijan, Walker, Hall, Kyron, Etienne, Warren, Kupp, DK, Jason, Downs, Palmer, Kelsey, Kincaid. We need a better wide receiver. Any ideas? It's staring at you right in the face, my friend. I mean, if you have Kelsey and Dalton Kincaid, all you got to do is go out there, take Kincaid, package him together with another wide receiver, such as DK Metcalf, and go get the wide receiver upgrade that way. I mean, honestly, not going to overthink this at all. I don't want to be playing Dalton Kincaid in the flex spot. We are never wanting to put ourselves in a position to flex the tight ends. And obviously, we're never starting him over Kelsey. So let's go get some trade value out of him. Max says 10-team PBR 4-3. We have Kirk, Lawrence, Kyler, Saquon, Pollard, JT, Etienne, Javonte, AJ Dillon, AJ Brown, Ayuk, Addison, Rice, Andrews. Any suggestions? Trade Saquon, Ayuk, Addison for Tyreek. Okay. So if we make this deal, then at that point, we are starting Pollard, JT at running back. Wide receiver, we are starting Tyreek, AJ Brown. For the flex long-term, we're going Devon Etienne. I think this is a close trade. What I am going to be primarily concerned with is us rostering 3 QBs. What I would rather do is go through and take out someone like Jordan Addison in this deal. And I would want to include one of the quarterbacks, any of the quarterbacks instead. I think that'd make more sense. Ethan says 5-2. We have Hurts, Swift, Mostert, Reek, Devonta, Hawkinson, Puka, Roshan, Madison, Rasheed, Jamal, Algier, Kirk, Sutton, Palmer, Kincaid. Sold Mostert, Will, and Kincaid for Bijan, Logan Thomas. What are your thoughts? Kincaid to Logan Thomas, downgrade. Mostert to Bijan, massive upgrade. Jamal Williams, you could have cut. I like it. I think in the short term, maybe it doesn't look great. In the long term, as we get back in Devon Etienne, I think it will be, at least in my mind, Hook 'em Lawrence, the Bijan Robinson side. But obviously, I'm very biased. Now, Andrew says, I have CMC, Pollard, Hunt, Javonte, Roshan at running back. Receivers, we have Ridley, Watson, Rice, Higgins. Also Kelsey. 12-team full BBR, I'm 5-2. We were offered Adams for Pollard and Ridley or Rice. Should we take it or hope my wide receivers pick it up? I would way rather have Pollard and Ridley. Do not do this, my friend. Wide receiver, I completely understand. We had Higgins injured. We had Watson injured. Rice is a rookie. Ridley's been disappointing. I would much rather just hold out hope, because the thing is, if you make this trade, then all of a sudden we just need a running back in the long term, right? I mean, we'd be fine at running back for right now. But ultimately in the long term, once Jerome Ford's back in Kareem Hunt's probably not someone that we're super excited about starting, then we're just creating one hole to solve the other. I don't think we'd do it. Rob says trade St. Brown for Puka. And I think you just relax. I think those guys that were injured previously will be much better. Rob says trade St. Brown for Puka and Hunt or Chase and Hall. Wait, what? If I can trade St. Brown for Chase and Hall, unless I'm misreading this, we're doing that in a heartbeat. Keaton says Collins, Ridley, McLaurin, Garrett Wilson. We got to pick 2. I'm going to go with Nico Collins and Garrett Wilson, my friend. Pitcher Rendon says, crazy to start Deonta Foreman over Jacobs if Walker's out. Yes, it is crazy. Roshan Johnson will be back in this week, and it'll be a split backfield in Chicago. Hook 'em Lawrence. I still love Deonta Foreman, but we're not going to be starting him in a committee here. And the worst, or one of the worst offenses in the NFL. The Real J says 5-1, 10-team full BBR single flex. What are your trade thoughts? We have Hurts, Waddle, Moore, Etienne, Taylor, Kelsey, Mostert. And then on the bench, Collins, McLaurin, JSN, Algier, Cousins, Samuel, and Etienne. Great spot to be in. I know it's a very boring thing to say, but I mean, ultimately, if you could go out there and if you could say, sell Kirk Cousins in a package with either Terry McLaurin, Nico Collins in this, and go get an upgrade for that flex spot in the starting lineup, I think that make a lot of sense. Or go sell him with DJ Moore to go get a better wide receiver, to go get someone like, say, CeeDee Lamb. I think we would like to do that. Just because we have Hurts, we're going to start Hurts every single week. And I mean, Cousins has been good enough where I think we could actually extract some value out of him. And yeah, honestly, it's a great team. Ethan says we also have money. Oh yeah, we're still going to do that. Don't worry about it. That doesn't change anything. Mo says Burrow, CMC, Pollard, Smith, Olave, Pacheco, Waller, Robinson, Amari, Lockett, Henderson, Dell, Palmer, JSN. And then on the waiver wire, we have Charbonnet, Edwards, Christian Watson. Any suggestions? First thing is I would drop Tank Dell and pick up Christian Watson. Second thing is can we pick up Gus Edwards? Consider dropping Darrell Henderson for Gus Edwards. If we could sell Brian Robinson and Tyler Lockett just to pivot over to a wide receiver that we like a little bit more in the long term, go get someone like, say, Jordan Addison. I think that'd make a lot of sense because then we could open up that other roster spot and pick up Charbonnet. And I do think that Brian Robinson, Lockett, these are going to be low ceiling players, right? And ultimately, if the waiver wire is that strong, I want to be selling our low ceiling players and going and clearing up roster spots to make moves down there on the bench. Now, Topher says, full BBR, 2 receivers, and a flex. Set the lineup. We have Waddle, Ayuk, Moore. We need a running back and a flex. Javonte, Hubbard, Spears, Goddard, Andrews. Flog fan, appreciate you, my friend. And what the hell are we doing here with Goddard and Andrews? Go through, sell Goddard. Go get something that we really like here. Go sell Goddard and Moore and go get a stud receiver. But wide receiver, we're going to go Waddle and Brandon Ayuk. Unless if Broad Purdy misses, then we go Waddle and DJ Moore. Then running back, we are going to be going with Javonte Williams out of this list. If we had to play 2, we go with Chuba Hubbard as the second guy. Then for the flex, we're going to go DJ Moore. And then we're going to go Mark Andrews over Dallas Goedert. But yeah, let's sell Goddard and let's go get that upgrade for the flex. Jack says, should we give up Pacheco and Flowers for Lamb and Najee? Flowers to Najee, lateral move up to you. Pacheco, Lamb, lateral move up to you. I probably prefer Lamb. Elmer says, 12-team full BBR. What do you change on the team? We have Lawrence, Pollard, Bijan, Kyron, DK, Higgins, Flowers, Michael Thomas. Depends on the record. I mean, if this is a team that's 5-2, nothing. I think we just chill and sit on our hands. If this is a team that's 3-4, 2-5, 1-6, then at that point, I think we're going to look to sell Kyron in a package with DK Metcalf to go get a long-term stud at wide receiver. But it's a very well-balanced team. I mean, if we could go pick up, somehow we can get Kyler off waivers to play over Lawrence long-term, I think we could do that. Christopher says, trade Kamara and Ayuk for Pollard and Jefferson. I'm 6-1. Oh, hell yes. Give me Pollard over Kamara. Give me Jefferson over Ayuk. That's a no-brainer. Now, Pitcherinden says, 2-5, 18 BBR standard league. We have Hurts, Eckler, Walker, Swift, Jacobs, Ford, Deontay, Etienne, Chase, Smith, Amari, Watson, Palmer, Rasheed, Andrews. How do we say the season? Thank you, man. So we have stud running backs at the very top, right? We're 2-5 as well, so we can't be thinking about the long-term upside. You need to go through, you need to take someone like Devon Achane, and you need to package him with one of the wide receivers, especially someone like Amari Cooper is dealing with this quarterback injury, and just go out there and get that upgrade in the starting lineup for right this second. I mean, sell that long-term value on a 2-5 roster so we can get production in the short term. I think that'd be the primary thing that we're going to look to do, my friend. The primary thing. Okay. Dylan says, I will have Josh Allen's kids 5-3. I'm calling it. Okay, well. Keep me updated. Somehow find a way to pull this off. Let me know. Not being 5-3. Obviously, that's easy. But having Josh Allen's kids, that's what I want updates with. Now, Big Body Bird says, PBR, I'm 5-2. Trade Jefferson and Najee for Puka and Barkley. Jefferson versus Barkley, give me Jefferson. It's close. Najee versus Puka, give me Puka. It's not close. I probably do it, even though I don't love trading away Jefferson on a 5-2 team. And then also trade Sutton for Spears. Up to you. If you think Derrick Henry gets traded, then sure. NBA Quick Cut says 10 team, full BBR, 4-3, 3 receivers, 2 flex. So deeper league overall, streaming quarterback. Walker Kamara for, and I'll say overall, this is where I'd be fine streaming quarterback when it's going to make up a small percentage of our starting lineup where we start 3 wide receivers and 2 flexes. But we have Walker, Kamara, Ford, Kyron, Roshan, Spears. We can start 5 wide receivers. Kupp, St. Brown, Lamb, Ridley, Addison. We have 5 startable guys, perfect spot. The only thing that I'd say is if you wanted to go out there and make a play for a quarterback, if you could sell Kyron and say we're streaming like Jordan Love, like Kyron and Jordan Love, and pivot over and go get a quarterback like Justin Herbert, that would be a no-brainer move if we could make that deal. Obviously, it is much easier said than done, though. Much easier said than done, but I think that would be interesting. But yeah, great. I don't want to be selling the wide receivers just because this is a league where you can start 5 of those guys, right? I'm Gucci Polo says, got offered Devonta Smith Hawkinson for Pacheco and Addison. Do we take it? Addison, Smith, up to you. Pacheco, Hawkinson, probably give me Hawkinson. Fair deal. I think it's up to you. Jesus says start Waddle with the back injury or Higgins in a non-PPR. Definitely going to go Waddle. Ryan says 6-1 PBR single flex. We have Allen, Kelsey, Chase, Keenan, Watson, JSN, Sutton, Jacobs, Gibbs, Montgomery, Warren, Algier, Hunt. Jefferson team needs a receiver. Pacheco and Pollard team needs a running back. Pacheco and Pollard team does not need a running back, my friend. We're 6-1. We have the long-term play of Montgomery. We have the long-term play of JSN, so we're already set up in a nice spot. If you wanted to go through and see if we could offer 2 separate trades, what if we could see if we could sell, say, Gibbs and Watson, Gibbs and JSN, or Jacobs and Watson, Jacobs and JSN, and go get Justin Jefferson? I think that'd make a lot of sense. If not, I would sell Keenan for Justin Jefferson on a 6-1 team. And then if we could sell Jacobs and like Watson and go get Pollard, we look to make that move. Maybe you have got that flip. Maybe you're saying that the team with Pacheco and Pollard needs a wide receiver. And if we could swing for Pollard, I would love to do that, my friend. Okay. Now, Tyler says 10-team PBR, double flex. Goff, Lamb, Waddle, Barkley, Brees, Hawkinson, Swift, Olave. Do we start Addison and who for? Yes, I think we start Jordan Addison, and I think we're going to start him over Chris Olave. But honestly, this is a phenomenal team. I wouldn't mind at all if you wanted to sell like Addison and a quarterback and go get a QB upgrade. Now, Colby says, I'm 5-2, trade Devontae Adams for Jefferson. Oh, hell yeah, on a 5-2 team. Okay. Tomsky says 12-team PBR 4-3. Hurts, JT, Mostert, White, Addison, Waddle, Laporta. And then on the bench, we have Judy, JSN, Jameson, Elijah, Jefferson. Thoughts and any trade ideas? I think it's a really strong team. Obviously, we're just going to be sitting here waiting until we get Jefferson back in. I think Mitchell's probably cuttable at this point. As painful as it is for me to say. I did draft a lot of Elijah Mitchell this year, but the thing is, even if CMC were to go down, then we don't even know if it's going to be Mitchell or Jordan Mason. So if we could pick up a different running back like Darrell Henderson, I'd definitely like to make that move. And they're a great team. Honestly, then we're just going to be sitting here and waiting until we get Jefferson back in. I've been reading y'all, your Mason's the type of guy to do this message. This is by far and away the funniest one. Mason, the type of guy to wiggle his fingers and say, don't mind if I do, before reaching a box of donuts. That's pretty funny, my man. Now, Sleep Deprived coming out says, single flex, Palmer's, Charbonnet, Flowers, Nico, and Hubbard. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play Nico Collins. I mean, I think you have to go through and you have to get Nico Collins everywhere. Christopher says, would you drop 4-minute to pick up Spears? We have Bijan, Pollard. On the bench, we have Roschon, Etienne, White. 6 RB limits, we have to drop a running back. What do you do? I'd rather see if we could go make a 2-for-1 deal. And honestly, I'd probably drop Roschon to pick up Spears instead. If you can't make a 2-for-1 deal, then naturally just open up a running back slot for us. I think at this point, based off the week that Foreman just had, right, you probably want Foreman over Roschon. At least I'd imagine. Now, SZ says, who are some guys you'd sell for Etienne? Hope you're having a great one. Appreciate you, my friend. I mean, if you're 5-2, if you're 6-1, that's the spot where I think you should be going out there and trading for Etienne. I mean, if you wanted to send, say, Pacheco, Mixon, Cook, Gibbs, Madison, White, Stevenson, like if you wanted to send one of those running backs, I'd do it. To be honest with you, like I'm not penciling in Devon Etienne to be like a top 5 running back rest of the season by any means. Now, Trustlock says 5-2, full BBR, 12-team league. We have Hurts, Jacobs, JT, AJ Brown, Keenan, Lamb, Collins, Evan Ingram. Any trades? Cut 1. Sanders, Hubbard, JSN, Spears, Dobbs. And then running backs over Jacobs. Thanks, Flock. Appreciate you, my friend. I think we're going to go ahead. I think that we are going to be cutting Hubbard. Sanders is practicing in full. They're probably still splitting the back. I don't feel super comfortable about it. I just don't want to be cutting Spears and like Derrick Henry gets traded this week. And then, no, I think we are going to go ahead. We are going to just keep Josh Jacobs here in the starting lineup. I don't see an easy swap that we can make from down there on the bench. I'm trying to think, my friend. Yeah, I think we're probably just going to sit still there and then cut Chuba Hubbard. Tover says, no one will trade me. Flock family for life. Appreciate you being a longtime member of the flock, my man. Thank you so much for everything. Now, Gilbert says, bench 1, Bijan, Gibbs, Pollard, Swift. I'm probably going to bench Gibbs, but if you look at the underdog pick'ems, they are saying that Gibbs will be much better than Bijan this week, and they would say to bench Bijan, but I am extremely biased, and it's going to be very difficult for me to do that. Now, Stealthy says, trade Amari and Watson for Hollywood, or is that too much? Definitely too much, my man. I think they're all about the same. I'm excited about Hollywood with Kyler and kind of scared of Amari with no Watson, but unsure. Yeah, in my mind, they're all about the same. I think it is going to be up to you there. I mean, I would not do 2-for-1 on any of them. It doesn't matter which combination it was. I'd rather have 2 guys than 1 in that bucket. Daniel says, Amari Higgins or Jacoby rest of season. At this point, it's hard not to say Jacoby. I think that they are all in that similar bucket. I mean, if you look at low-end wide receiver 2s, high-end wide receiver 3s in fantasy, they're all about the same. I mean, from about wide receiver 14 to wide receiver 30 in fantasy football right now, it all does come down to your personal preference. Now, Jesus says, okay, now who do we start in the flex? 10-team non-PPR, Flowers or Higgins? We're going to go ahead. We're going to go Flowers this week. I mean, I would rather see Higgins a week before we have to go through and start them. And it is a very tough matchup that you have going up against the 49ers. Jalen says 10-team PPR 4-3. We have Burrow, Walker, Pacheco, Jacobs, Jet Wilson, White, Chase, Smith, Ayuk, Watson, JSN, Palmer, Goddard, Pitts. Any advice? Keep up the vids. Thank you, my friend. I'm trying to come up with something for you here. I would say with this team in particular, if we could sell high on White, White's not necessarily going to be an impact player for us when we have Walker, Pacheco, Jacobs. I mean, I would look to see The price point we could get on White, the price point that we could get on Pacheco, like if we could sell White and Goddard and go get a top 3 tight end, go get someone like Hawkinson, I would love that. Now, that boy OD says 2 quarterback, 3 wide receiver, 10-team league. 1 and 6. We have Burrow, Love, Walker, Pollard, Puka, Smith, Rasheed. Kincaid at tight end. The flex is Barkley. And then on the bench, we have Gibbs, Spears, Mack, Charbonnet, Dotson, Palmer. What's the move? 1 and 6. We need to sell long-term value for short-term production. I would say let's go through and let's sell Jahmyr Gibbs, who is phenomenal right now, right? Jahmyr Gibbs is crushing. You're going to get Montgomery back in. He's a rookie, so maybe you're excited to go through and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. In my mind, he's not in your starting lineup, right? He has long-term upside, but we're not getting anything from him right now. If we could send him and Jordan Love and go get a stud quarterback 2 for that super flex spot, or go send him and Rashee Rice and go get an elite level wide receiver 3, I think those would be moves I'm looking to make, my friend. I personally would like to. Now, Clutchbox says traded Stafford and Palmer for Stroud. Is this a W? Yes, I believe so. I believe so. Hines says 10-team, happy BR, single flex. Record is 3-4. We have Lamar, Bijan, JT, Olave, Kupp, Chase, Waller, Kyler. Tajee, Ridley, Watson, JSN, Khalil, Ford, and Kincaid are on waiver wires. What should we do? Any general tips? If Khalil Herbert is not on the IR, if you don't have an IR slot you can put him on, then you just go ahead and honestly look to cut him. You just cut Khalil Herbert, go pick up either Jerome Ford or Dalton Kincaid. Outside of that, if we have Lamar, I would love to see if we could package together, say, Kyler Murray and really anybody. Kyler Murray and Calvin Ridley go get a wide receiver upgrade. Or Kyler Murray and Tajee Spears and go get a better running back. I mean, if you have these kind of guys sitting out there on waivers, you are in such a position of strength where you are able to go through and you are able to make 2-for-1 deals and just get pretty much free guys. Free options off waivers, right? So yeah, I think first thing is cut Khalil Herbert for someone like Kincaid. Then send Kyler and another player for an upgrade in the starting lineup and pick up Ford for free. Jesus says, Mason, thank you for everything you do. You're the man. Appreciate you, my man. Shelby says, I have Montgomery and Gibbs. Trade them or stick with them. I think we're honestly going to stick with them. It depends on your exact situation. I don't think either guy's a sell high candidate, though. Aiden says, 4-3, 12-team. Running backs are Ramondre Jones, Charbonnet, DeMarcado, Kyron. Receivers are Kupp, Diggs, Evans, Addison, Downs, JSN. Being offered Saquon and Sutton for Addison and Jones. Hesitant. Jones to Saquon, massive upgrade. Addison to Sutton, massive downgrade. We're starting Kupp, Diggs, Evans anyway. We have Downs and JSN as quality depth. I completely understand why you were hesitant when you have a phenomenal player here in Jordan Addison for the long term. I still think you have to do it at that price, though. Now, Melling says 12-team Happy BR 221. Team was Dak, Tyreek, Ridley, Etienne, Brees, Kincaid, James Cook, Watson, Charbonnet, Dotson, Warren. Just traded Ridley and Cook for Jefferson. Great move. Great move. And then once we do that, honestly, we are going to be chilling until we get Jefferson back in. But once we get Jefferson back in, then at that point, I think you do have a little bit of depth here where we could go through and we could look to sell someone like Calvin Ridley and Dak Prescott to go get a quarterback upgrade. If, Ridley's been performing, maybe we can get a quarterback that we're excited about. But yeah, for the time being, we don't have the depth to make that. Now, Adil coming out with a donation. Thank you so much. And Villani says start Amari Sanders or Warren. We're going to go Amari DeMarcado. Just because he has the guaranteed snaps. But Jonathan asking us to break up Kelsey and Swift. Here's what I'm going to do. How about this? I will shoot my shot with Taylor Swift right now. I'll DM her on Instagram. I'll see what she says. I'll keep you posted. I mean, if we do objectively go by this, I would say, 1, I am better looking than Travis Kelce. 2, I am more physically dominant than Travis Kelce. 3, I am funnier than Travis Kelce. And 4, I'd say I'm smarter. And 5, most importantly, I have more money than Travis Kelce, right? So I'll shoot Taylor Swift a DM. I will get her out of the Chiefs games, but fair warning, she may be in the background of the videos if I decide to do that. As long as you're fine, if it matters that much for you. But Clutch Boxes appreciate everything you do, Mason. No, thank you so much. And Adil sent a separate question. Let me pull this up for you, my friend. Adil, let's search this. Okay. Team is Lawrence, Fields, Bijan, Walker, Tyreek, Amon-Ra, Lamb, Ingram. Sorry, I'm thinking. Give me 1 second here. I'm thinking who I can sell CD for. Elite quarterback for 1 plus Lamb for Puka or a running back. To be honest with you, my friend, I mean, I understand the thought process and why you'd be looking to do this, especially if we have Gabe Davis Rice on the bench. If you could sell, say, CeeDee Lamb and get back a top 3 quarterback, get back Allen, Hurts, Mahomes, I am okay with you doing it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think you should feel very comfortable starting CeeDee Lamb. I know he hasn't been great, but he will be much better going forward. Now, Eric says, fantasy app, standard format, 3 and 4. Start Goff, Eckler, Jacobs, Moore, Ayuk, Collins. And then on the bench, we have Edwards, Sanders, Rice, Metcalf, JSN, Thielen. Switch the lineup or any traits. I would start Thielen. I'm going to put Thielen in over probably Nico Collins. And then if you could sell DK Metcalf and Jared Goff and go get a long-term upgraded quarterback, I would look to do that. But I think that's all I have for you. Again, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for hanging out with us in this live stream. If you have not done so already, please go down there, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football. I'll be live tomorrow night, the night after, the night after, the night after, the night after, and the night after that. And of course, if you wanted to check out any of those pick'ems over on Underdog Fantasy, you can find that link on the live chat in the description in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK, you're going to get a 100% deposit match, plus our rest of season fantasy football rankings and tiers. The usual Underdog special pick'em, which will be more than less than half a total yard for Jalen Hurts if you're new to Underdog. But on top of that, it doesn't matter if you're new to Underdog, old to Underdog, as long as you use code FLOCK, we're also getting you an exclusive Flock special pick'em. Amon-Ra St. Brown, more than less than half a total yard for Monday night, so make sure you take advantage. Last question, Uncle Baby Billy, love the name. 14-team keeper, 5-2 full PBR. Good offer to trade for DJ Moore. They offer Debo, Miles Sanders. We have Kupp, Higgins, Metcalf, Moore. Running backs, Jones, Mixon. Should we accept? Honestly, I do think it's up to you because it's a 14-team league and tap's a little bit harder to come by. You can if you want, but I wouldn't be too excited. But thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate y'all and really hope I get to see you in the live stream tomorrow night.